Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in the world on the 6th of April of 2026. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, where during the previous 24 hours the Ukrainians launched a massive attack in the direction of the southern Russia. Lots of explosions and lots of drones launched by the Ukrainians was recorded in the area of Krasnodar Krai, and this picture was published this morning. Here we can see the approximate routes of Ukrainian drones. As you can see, lots of lines, and the sources stated that once again the Ukrainians used around 230 drones to attack the territory of Russia. Furthermore, the Ukrainians were attacking the Russians from the area of Ukraine itself and from the area of the Black Sea. And of course, we received lots of videos where we can see how exactly the Ukrainians were attacking positions of the Russian Federation in this area, how the Ukrainians were attacking facilities, objects of energy infrastructure and fuel infrastructure. Also, we have a report and a video that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources. This video is a very important video. Here we can see a Ukrainian drone that was flying from the area of the Black Sea, and here we can see the moments when the Ukrainians recorded a ship of the Russian Federation right in front of the screen of this drone. Later, pro-Ukrainian sources stated that as a result of attack, the Ukrainians managed to damage this ship, and this is not just a ship, this is a caliber carrier. The Russians used and can use this ship to use caliber missiles and to launch caliber missiles, and the Russians were doing this and since the beginning of the special military operation for many times. And but the most important thing that this is basically a final seconds, so we don't know for sure whether the Ukrainians indeed managed to hit this let's say ship or not, or maybe the Russians managed to bring down the Ukrainian drone. We don't know, but the Ukrainians are saying that they managed to damage this ship, but without proof. So let's wait and see. Obviously in coming days we will receive additional satellite pictures, so the Ukrainians will give us another video on this matter. But once again, the Ukrainians are saying that they managed to damage the ship that can use caliber missiles to attack Ukraine. Later, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation published this statement, and according to this statement, on the night of April 6, the Kiev regime, with the aim of destabilizing the global hydrocarbon market and halting the supply of petroleum products to European consumers, attacked the facilities of the Maritime transshipment complex in Novorossiysk using drones of aircraft type. The Kiev regime deliberately attacked the facilities of the International Oil Transportation Company Caspian Pipeline Consortium to inflict maximum economic damage on its largest shareholders, energy companies from the United States of America and Kazakhstan. So this is the official statement of the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. So we believe that the Ukrainians will continue attacks in this direction. Another important thing that is in the area of the Azov Sea, a vessel, a bulk carrier, was damaged and destroyed as well. So this is the first, it seems that this is the first bulk carrier that was damaged and destroyed in the territory of the Azov Sea. So this is the situation with the Ukraine attack. Now let's talk about the Russian attack and important things that most likely in coming weeks, months will change a lot in the conflict on the territory of Ukraine. The Russians during the previous night also attacked the territory of Ukraine using hundreds of drones, and the Minister of Defense of Ukraine this morning stated that the Russians used 141 drones to attack the territory of Ukraine, its objects of energy infrastructure and so on. As of the 6th of April, as of the end of the current day, we haven't received lots of updates on the matter of these strikes. We have lots of videos of how Russian drones were flying, let's say, over the city of Kharkiv, seeking for targets to attack. The Russians are monitoring the city of Kharkiv 24 hours, 7 days a week with drones, with good connection, with good quality and so on. The Russians are flying over the city, trying to find positions of the armed forces of Ukraine, warehouses, ammo depots and so on. And the Russians attack the city of Kharkiv also almost every single day with hundreds, or at least with dozens of drones, and with hundreds of drones a week. during weeks. Another important thing is that the Russians, according to different sources, are improving their positions on the territory of the Republic of Belarus. Today we received a report that panic in Kiev, that Kiev is in panic. Russia is building 4 bases in Belarus to manage long-range drones. Ukrainian authorities fear this will give Russia greater access to strike Ukrainian territory. Minsk is only 440 kilometers from Kiev, and the presence of Russian bases in Belarus will significantly reduce Ukraine's response time to attack. This may lead to more deadly Russian attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure. So if you remember, during this year we received lots of updates that the Russians have installed some types of equipment along the border between the Republic of Belarus and Ukraine itself, and the Russians use this border to control and to monitor drones that were launched, let's say, from the area of the Bryansk Oblast. So the Russians, when they launch drones, they try to use these drones and to keep these drones as close as possible to the border between the Republic of Belarus and Ukraine itself, and this allows the Russians to attack the city of Kiev, the Kiev region, and the northern parts of Ukraine with probably significant accuracy or something like this. And now, according to this report, according to this article, it seems that the Russians are planning to build more bases along the border, and now the Russians have the next task. They want to have these drones and to use these drones to attack deeper in the western direction, let's say around the cities of Kovyl, around the cities of Sarny, and basically around the border between Poland and Ukraine itself. So basically, with this equipment and with these bases along the border, Russian bases along the border between Ukraine and the Republic of Belarus, the Russians are planning to create something like a Geraint drone kill zone along MO7 roads between the border of Poland and the city of Kiev itself. The Russians, with drones, with equipment, with additional equipment that will allow the Russians to control and to maintain Geraint drones during attacks, will be able to establish complete fire control over this territory, complete fire control over MO7 road without any possibilities for Ukrainians to use this road for big logistics. We're not talking about small logistics, about local logistics, but the Ukrainians will not be able to use these roads for a big logistics. So we're talking about trains, we're talking about convoys, we're talking about bases, we're talking about polygons of the armed forces of Ukraine for military purposes. And the most important thing is that the Ukrainians will not be able to do anything but this. They will not be able to hit bases on the territory of the Republic of Belarus if they do this, because this is not going to be like a bases that threaten military to Ukraine. So, they are not going to attack the territory of Ukraine from the territory of Belarus. They are not going to attack with artillery or with missiles. They're going to use just equipment that will provide the Russians a very good signal, that the Russians will be able to use to control their drones over this part of Ukraine and to monitor this territory 24 hours, 7 days a week. And of course, I would like to remind you that several days ago, the president of the Republic of Belarus made a very interesting statement that the Republic of Belarus is preparing for war, because we understand, and most likely when the Russians understand this, the Belarusians understand this, the Ukrainians understand this, if this equipment along the border will provide significant, let's say, improvement to the Russians, of course, the Ukrainians would be forced to attack these bases and this equipment along the border, because they will suffer huge problems with this. And if they do this, this can force the Belarusians to join the conflict on the Russian side and to make additional steps against Ukraine. So, a very complicated situation. Furthermore, I would like to point to attention that according to updates that we received during the previous days about massive attacks, it seems that the Russians also created a lot of bases along the territory of Transnistria that allowed the Russians to use their drones while attacking in the western and the southwestern direction. And with this equipment and with these drones, the Russians shown a very high performance with their drones while they were moving exactly along this area. So when summarizing everything, and when the Russians finish the construction of this equipment and bases on the territory of the Republic of Belarus and along the Transnistria, it will allow the Ukrainians to have just a very small corridor in the central part of Ukraine for big logistic purposes. And obviously the Russians will try to make everything they can with the purpose to tighten the news around this corridor, with the purpose not to allow the Ukrainians to use this logistic corridor with 100% effectiveness or something like this. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation along the line of combat contacts. During the previous day we received lots of updates, and first let's talk about the northern directions where both the Russians and the Ukrainians are keeping attacking each other. As for the Sumy direction, during the previous 24 hours we haven't received anything special, but as of the Kharkiv direction, during the previous day we received lots of updates. The Russians during the previous day attacked some gas station on the territory of the city by the name of Zolochev. Furthermore, additional explosions and damage was recorded on the territory of the city of Bogodukhov. The Russians destroyed a warehouse in this area. Also, explosions were recorded on the territory of the city of Vysyolia. Here we can see how the Russians attacked the village with FAP, with aviation bombs. The Russians discovered probably or destroyed these farms, maybe that Ukrainians use as warehouses or ammo depots. We have already discussed that lots of drones were flying over the city of Kharkiv itself, and we have changes in the northeastern part of the Kharkiv region. Today, according to information we have, the Ukrainians carried out, not maybe today, but these days, the Ukrainians carried out a counter-offensive operation in the northeastern parts of Kharkiv region using lots of soldiers, vehicles and equipment, and as a result of this counter-offensive operation, the Ukrainians managed to recapture some positions in this area that used to be considered as a gray zone. So this is the situation by the end of the 5th of April, and this is the situation by the end of the 6th of April. Based on this video and based on the report that was published by a pro-Ukrainian source, we have adjusted the map. So this is the situation in this area. We don't think that Ukrainians are going to continue their counter-offensive operation. They just improve their positions through this territory with the purpose to probably repel or to be prepared to repel upcoming attacks from the Russian side that most likely will take place within the next several weeks. As for the Kupiansk direction, during the previous 24 hours, nothing special was recorded. The Russians were attacking positions of the armed forces of Ukraine on the western bank of the river Voskol, but as you can see, without significant changes. As for the Slaviansk direction, during the previous 24 hours, lots of changes, important changes were recorded in this area. So this is the map by the end of the 6th of April, this is the 5th of April, this once again the 6th of April. As you can see, the Russians improved their position significantly. We have lots of videos that confirm that the Russians during the previous days managed to improve their position significantly. In this video we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russians along this road with FPV drone. Based on this video we came to conclusion that most likely this stronghold was also captured by Russians, and we adjusted the map. We have improved positions of Russians along the gray zone and infiltrated area. Another important update is coming from the Alexandrovka directions. These are the changes on the ground between the dates. Today we received this video where we can see how a Russian soldier was moving through the forest and how the Russians were securing positions in this area. Based on this video we came to the conclusion that everything to the east was also captured by Russians, and these are the changes on the ground, and the Russians are keeping advancing in this pocket. It seems that in coming days the Ukrainians from this area either would be encircled by Russians completely or they would be forced to fall back from these pockets, otherwise once again they would be trapped. Now let's move further and let's talk about the Kupiansk-Drushkov-Konstantinka-Drushkovka direction. During the previous 24 hours, additional changes were also recorded. The Russians improved their infiltration area in the pockets in the fields between Drushkovka and Konstantinovka by taking under additional control some tree lines and fortifications. The Russians also improved their positions to the south of Dovga Balka, but at the same time the Ukrainians managed to counterattack and to recapture some positions between Dovga Balka and Konstantinovka itself, and the Ukrainians managed to restore the logistics between these two villages. The Russians from their side are keeping bombing and attacking the city of Konstantinovka with FABs, with bombs, with aviation, trying to break through the Ukrainian resistance in this area, but it seems that the Ukrainians still have some resources to keep fighting in this area. The Dobropolye direction. During the previous 24 hours, also additional changes on the ground were recorded. The Ukrainians continued their counter-offensive operation, and as a result of a counter-offensive operation, they managed to improve their positions between the cities of Belitska and Dobropolye. The Russians are trying to get the city of Dobropolye and to take some positions around the settlement, but the Russians are still not able to break through the Ukrainian defense layer between the settlements of Nadia, Nova Grishina, Shevchenka, Svetlaya, Belitska, Chernivka, and Dobropolye. So we're talking about this defense layer. The Russians are attacking this territory, but without significant progress. The Zaporizhzhia direction. The clashes continue for the city of Orekhov. The Russians are attacking in this direction from the west, trying to improve their positions through the fields and to get as close as possible to the city. The Russians are keeping advancing from the south, increasing the pressure on positions of the armed forces of Ukraine, and the Russians have improved their positions significantly to the east of the city of Orekhov, and currently the clashes are taking place for the settlement of Gulyai-Polskaya. This information was confirmed by several sources. So we have geolocations, we have map updates of different reliable sources that the Russians have entered the northeastern part of the settlement of Gulyai-Polskaya, and that there are very heavy clashes right now. So once again, if Ukrainians lose control over the settlement of Gulyai-Polskaya, this will open the Russians the way to move further in the direction of the Orekhov agglomeration, and the Russians most likely will be able to pass this, line within the next month or something like this. We have covered most of the most important updates regarding the territory of Ukraine and the Ukrainian conflict. Now let's discuss the situation in the Middle East, and first let's talk about the statements that were made by the President of the United States of America. We have already discussed most of them. Let's just once again, the most important thing is that the President of the United States of America issued a deadline for the Iranians to accept the US proposal, and this deadline expires tomorrow on Tuesday 8 p.m. and if the Iranians don't accept the capitulation, the United States of America will reduce its energy to ruins. Another important thing is that today, according to information we have, there was these days there was behind the doors negotiation process. Iran and a group of regional mediators were discussing the terms for a potential 45-day ceasefire that could lead to permanent end to the war, according to 4 Israel, US, and regional sources with knowledge of talks. The sources are saying that these negotiations are taking place through the territory of Pakistan, in the territory of the capital of the state in Islamabad. And today the Pakistanis provided a very interesting plan. Pakistan's proposed a two-phase deal. The first phase, immediate phase, ceasefire starts right away. Strait of Hormuz reopens immediately, key for global oil. So this is the first plan of a 45-day ceasefire plan that was proposed by the United States of America. Follow-up phase, 15-20 days, final comprehensive peace deal negotiated, tentatively called the Islamabad Accord. The final deal may include Iran agrees to limits on nuclear program, in return sanctions relief, release of frozen assets, broader regional framework, framework for Hormuz security. But later we received the report that the Iranians rejected this plan. Iran has delivered its response to Pakistan regarding the US proposal for a 45-day ceasefire. Iran rejects a temporary ceasefire and demands the following: a permanent end to the war on all theaters of military operations in the Middle East, including Lebanon and Gaza, with guarantees, the elimination of all US bases in the Persian Gulf, the implementation of a new transit protocol that recognizes Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz and allows Iran to levy tolls, the lifting of economic sanctions against Iran, recognition of Iran's right to peaceful uranium enrichment in accordance with its rights under the NPT and the UN Charter, payment of reparations for the economic damage incurred during the war. So obviously the United States of America will never accept this. Furthermore, we believe that in coming hours, more precisely in a day, so tomorrow after 8 p.m., the United States of America will begin bombing most likely the southwestern, the central part, and the northern parts of Iran significantly. Today we received lots of updates from this area. The United States of America and the coalition have already begun bombing this territory. Let's discuss everything in details. During the day, we received updates from the city of Bitkun. Here we can see a fire. It is reported that strikes have been carried out on the largest Iranian gas processing plant in Asaleh in Bushehr province, which is a part of the infrastructure of the South Pars gas field. So this territory was attacked by the coalition. Furthermore, we received the report that the coalition once again attacked the city of Bushehr and the territory around. This video was published today. A very heavy explosion took place, as you can see. Something big probably was damaged and destroyed by the coalition. Furthermore, we received reports about strikes and explosions on the territory of the city of Shiraz. Furthermore, as a result of attack, as a result of a large wave airstrike, we got a report that the power facility causing electricity outages in parts of Fars province was attacked. Industrial electronics sites was attacked. Power blackouts affecting residents. Furthermore, we received the report that the city of Tehran was also attacked, and according to information we have, an institute of technology was damaged significantly. One of the most powerful and developed institutes on the territory of Iran, where the Iranians were teaching engineers of this state. So lots of explosions were recorded, but all this attack didn't allow the Iranians, the coalition more precisely, to unblock the Strait of Hormuz, which still remains blocked completely. But today, according to information we have, several Indian, Pakistani, Turkish and French ships have obtained a transit permit for the Strait of Hormuz. So 15 ships passed through the Strait of Hormuz within 24 hours. So we see that the Iranians are controlling the situation. At the same time, the Iranians continue attacking the territory of the Middle East states. Today we received a report about attacks on the state of Dubai. Furthermore, we start receiving first satellite pictures that there is a fire on the territory of the United Arab Emirates through its largest gas objects of gas infrastructure and gas facilities. Furthermore, we received a report that the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain are trying to unblock the Strait of Hormuz using the United Nations means. So they want to get this permission through the Security Council of this organization, but yet they haven't managed to do this. Bahrain, along with the United Arab Emirates, is pushing the United Nations Security Council to authorize action to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier draft backed by the Gulf states and the US used harsher language that suggested military action, but negotiations softened it after resistance from Russia, China, and France. So, which means that most likely using the United Nations legal means, the Strait of Hormuz won't be opened, and most likely the Persian Gulf states won't be authorized for this process with military means, which is obviously a very interesting and difficult situation for the Strait of Hormuz and for the Persian Gulf states. Furthermore, today we received lots of updates from the state of Israel. The Iranians attacked once again this state with lots of missiles, lots of explosions were recorded on the territory of the city, lots of destructions were also recorded. We see that despite the fact that the coalition states are saying that Iran is out of missiles, they still have possibilities to attack. Another important statement was made by the Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz. Israel Defense Forces forcefully struck Iran's largest petrochemical plant. This key facility accounts for about 50% of Iran's petrochemical output. This follows an attack on Iran's second largest facility last week. Another important thing is that during the previous 24 hours, according to information we have, the Iranians attacked the assault ship Tripoli, which transports up to 2,500 Marines with missiles. I would like to remind you that this assault ship started moving in the direction of the Arabian Sea at the beginning of the conflict, at the beginning of the epic operation. And as we discussed 2 weeks ago, this assault ship came to this area, and now we received the report that this ship was attacked by the Iranians, and the Iranians forced this ship to fall back further and deeper inside of the Indian Ocean, which means that it will be a very difficult situation, a very difficult adventure, probably even, to land infantry on the territory of the southeastern parts of Iran, because this territory is under complete control of the Iranian drones and missiles, and any approach of the southeastern parts of Iran probably will face huge resistance from the Iran itself. And that's it for today. The Military Summary channel reminds us we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.